And my dad is in the ghetto. My heart is in the ghetto. You can call me the ghetto boy. I was born in the ghetto. And my mom is in the ghetto. My heart is in the ghetto. You can call me the ghetto boy.
For giving us the news in Shona and Isindebele, and we started things off in the second hour with a double play by legends, the best to do it. Both late now, Andy Brown and the Storm with Tichango Shaina, and then also played you Dr. Oliver Mtukudzi with Ghetto Boy. Great music punctuating great conversations. As always on a Thursday, we like to throw it back. So stay tuned in the last hour. We will be giving you some more nostalgic music in your Throwback Thursday mode. Now, in this hour, we will be getting into a quick look at news flash stories. These are headlines from local, regional, and international perspectives. And then we get into the exchange. Plastic-Free July is our discussion, an environmental look at what the world is doing to reduce dependence and use of plastic. I'll be speaking to Cliff Chivanga in just a moment. Remember, you can send us your messages, interact with us, and of course, a big, big, big thanks to Thelma, Theodolah Mpinda, registered general nurse and midwife. Mbuya Thelma, the good midwife. We were talking there about labor and delivery, signs of labor, pain management options, when to go to the hospital. But time got the best of us, so we definitely will be coming back with a part 2 of that one next week. So keep it locked and stay tuned. So now taking a look at stories making headlines, we take a look at Harare. And Harare Mayor, Councillor Jacob Mafume, says the capital's future growth and improved service delivery depend on eliminating corruption and strengthening accountability within council operations. So he said this during the City of Harare Strategic Business Unit Integrity Pledge signing ceremony. This was done in conjunction with ZAC, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. And our mayor said that the municipality interacts with thousands of residents on a daily basis, making integrity and efficiency very critical to the city's transformation. There was a news article, this is verbatim what the mayor said. There was a news article that said Rufaro Stadium was going to be closed because of the toilets. One of the local hotels called me in panic, and the manager said, "No, mayor, if you're failing to mend toilets, can we come and mend them? Because every weekend the hotels are full of people coming to watch soccer." And this incident, according to Councillor Mafume, proves how poor service delivery directly impacts key sectors of the economy. And now we're talking about tourism, employment, and sport. And he's urging for each and every player, every stakeholder at every level to work efficiently with integrity. And then that ripple effect will get to the rest of the economy. And we see tourism, Ishita Shakanaka, employment. And this is just looking at football in itself. And now basic income will increase. So I think an important message there coming from the mayor of the city of Harare. And then looking at yet another story, an exciting tidbit, this one. Zimbabwe is going to be establishing a national cybersecurity authority. This is excellent news. And it's a great step towards strengthening our digital security as we become more online and more digital in our operations. We're using a lot of e-commerce. We're using a lot of mobile banking. There's a lot of e-government platforms. And let's not forget the digital communication. Cyber threats are also very real. Online scams, hacking, identity theft and data breaches are becoming more commonplace. So the proposed authority is expected to coordinate national efforts to protect the critical infrastructure, to improve responses to cyber incidents, and to promote cybersecurity awareness amongst citizens and businesses. It goes beyond enhancing national security. A strong cybersecurity framework can actually boost investor confidence and support Zimbabwe's thrust towards smart Zimbabwe by 2030, and also create a lot of opportunities for skills development and innovation in the tech sector. However, as these measures are implemented, it's very important to strike a balance between strengthening cybersecurity and strengthening protection of citizens' rights to privacy, as well as freedom in the digital space. The last one I'll look at, this again is something that is excellent news for people in the legal sector, for advocates, for sex offenses, rape advocates. This is excellent because Zimbabwe is proposing to establish a sex offenders register. Now, if you're like me, I am an avid watcher. I am dedicated watcher of various programs like Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, and also look at other countries in UK, the US. They have a sex offenders register. So if you're convicted of a sex crime, you're put on that register. If you move into any neighborhood, you have to notify people within a certain radius that, you know what, I'm a sex offender. You're actually not allowed, if you were convicted of pedophilia, to live close to a school or where children will be, or any recreational area. So it's a significant step in really protecting children and other vulnerable members of the society. So the register is expected to help prevent convicted sex offenders from getting employment. It's also a condition that you have to disclose. But I'm on the sex offenders register. And it's something, it's indelible. It's like your ID now. In engagement on everything, and you have a responsibility to disclose. You cannot go into childcare facilities. There's certain institutions that you cannot get into. And once you're on the sex offenders register, you're on there for life. I think this is something important that Zimbabwe has been talking about for a long time. It tackles sexual violence, it protects children, and it really makes a stern message that it is not okay to commit sex crimes. It's not okay to brutalize and victimize children in this way, and also that pedophilia has consequences. And once you are convicted, you are then very, 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 I guess you're stained for life. And it's also something that comes with that. If you commit these crimes, everyone, everywhere that you interact with will know that you are a convicted sex offender. It also encourages communities to report abuse without fear or stigma. And I think this is something excellent. We definitely will be deep diving on this one to hear some of the modalities, but it's a great way to reinforce accountability by ensuring that those convicted of sexual offenses continue to face appropriate safeguards after serving their sentences. It must be, the register to be effective must be accurately maintained, managed, and implemented in a way that respects constitutional rights and due process. So this is a huge milestone. Zimbabwe very, very close in mooting a sex offenders register, something that I'm celebrating, and I know that my sisters and brothers in the legal space who've been advocating for this, who protect children, who protect victims and vulnerable people of sex crimes, are very excited to hear this significant step. So I'll leave it there. Those are the stories coming up in our news flash, and we invite you to send us your comments or reactions on the WhatsApp platform number 0719 100 404. 0719 100 404. Receiving messages from Team Gezani Padomboshawa, Dovi, Palmer Stones, Kuriseiko. This one is coming from the Mashito Twins Association, and you say, Anzi, I read you, I did was sugar. How are you doing, guys? Thank you for choosing us on this Thursday evening. Now, do stay with us as we get into environmental talk now. anti-plastic July, plastic-free July. When was the last time you were plastic-free? Will you be able to engage in this challenge for the benefit of the environment? Let me know quickly before we get a hold of Cliff, our guest, on 0719 100 404. Donny Shituzuma, I see you.
Oh, tango pal, oh my Inspired. Informed and entertained. With the biggest hits, hottest news and exclusive interviews. Happy Talk 100.4 FM. Harare's heartbeat. Hashtag 9 and fly.
She dissects, she explains and clarifies your Rosetta Stone to understanding legalese. She is Rumbidzai Venge on Capital 100.4 FM.
Back in time, and we did exactly that with Pax Afro Tango Pal, and it takes us straight into our conversation with Cliff Chivanga, and he joins me now on the other end of the line. Cliff, it is a good evening. Thanks so much for making time for us and for being part of the conversation. Cliff Chivanga is the co-founder and chief operating officer for the Zimbabwe Sunshine Group, and he is also a proud environmentalist. How are you doing, Cliff? Good evening.
Good evening, Rumbi. It's always a pleasure being here on Capital Talk and having environmental conversations.
Indeed, indeed. You know,
and greetings to the listeners.
Oh, wonderful stuff. I'd set out a little challenge for our listeners, but no one has responded. I guess plastic free throughout this whole month of July. But of course, that is exactly what we are talking about. Plastic free July and how this impacts the environment. So to begin with, you know, someone might be hearing this plastic free July for the very first time. What is it and why is this campaign important?
Oh, thank you so much, Rumbi. I think Plastic Free July, it's a movement that started in 2011 in Australia. It is an opportunity that was identified in Australia to rally businesses, individuals, different institutions, different players in the industry to really think about having a plastic-free society. And one of the key things that they were rallying people, behind is for people to really have deliberate considerations in terms of how they perceive plastics, and so that they'll be able to reduce the amount of plastic that they're generating that really ends up into the environment. And then it grew into becoming a global movement where in every country, everyone is following this movement, and it has been adopted locally. As you see that here in Zimbabwe, we are also commemorating the Plastic Free July by having quite a number of programs that we are doing.
Bringing it home, Cliff, how much plastic are we really using, and how serious is the problem of plastic pollution at a global scale and at a local scale as well?
No, plastic is quite a very big challenge globally and even locally. And if you look at the statistics that are provided, it's really concerning, because globally we are looking at over 400 million tons of plastic that is being generated annually. And then if you look at the total tonnage that is being generated against what is being utilized in terms of recycling, it's quite surprising that 2/3 of what is being generated is really not finding any use in the market. It's not finding any use in the industry, and it ends up becoming just waste. And also, it's very concerning also that from that total generation, we are having over 23 million tons of plastics that are ending up in our aquatic ecosystems, which is our oceans and our water bodies. That's quite concerning. And I think if you then zero in terms of those numbers in Zimbabwe, the Environmental Management Authority, EMA, they have it on record that Zimbabwe is generating over 300 tons of plastics annually. But when you just look at those numbers, they remain abstract. But I think when you zero in to look at the per capita generation, probably it paints a much bigger picture and better picture for people to really understand. Because you see that on average, Zimbabwean generates about 0.47 kgs of waste a day. And if you look then at the fraction or the proportion of plastic from that generation, you're looking at about between 12 to 16%. So that is the total plastic that is being generated by every individual in Zimbabwe. And it's quite concerning, because if you then look at the overall picture in terms of what is it, the contributions that are being done around all the activities we are doing as a country in terms of recycling, recovery and all that, we are still below 20% in terms of utilization of that resource, which is becoming waste and becoming a challenge and a menace to our environment.
That is staggering. I was just taking a moment to digest that. What are the biggest sources of plastic waste then in our communities? Because you're saying each person is generating. That's quite a lot, eh? What are the biggest sources of plastic waste in our communities?
Rumbi, it's marara generatwa. It's for real that everyone generates a lot of waste, and the plastic is coming from so many pathways. And if you look at how our economy is structured, we have a lot of informality, and there's a lot of plastic that is being generated. It ranges from your post-packaging, from the consumer fast-moving goods, that in the post-packaging materials. So you're looking at all those plastic that is used to wrap your goods, your products, and you also have the actual packaging. If you look at your the water bottles, the beverage bottles, but I think one of the biggest challenge is the non-recyclable plastic that you then find in the market, and majority of it is coming from these carrier bags that are being distributed, especially in the informal sector, because I think now some of the main retail stores, they've now adopted the recommended plastic bags that are recyclable or that are being produced from recycled materials, or the alternatives, which is the paper bag. So I think if you look in the main, they are coming from all these streams that are coming from the different activities that are happening in the industry. But I think those plastics that are less than 10 microns are the biggest challenge, because they don't have a taker in terms of recycling. And you see some of the products that are wrapped in plastic are those small products like your sweets, mazen, pichaone, majigis, maputi, all those types of plastics that are being generated from there. They are all contributing to the volumes that we are talking about today.
Someone might be listening in right now. And thinking, what's the big deal? How does plastic affect our environment? Let's look at rivers. Let's look at wetlands. Let's look at wildlife. Let's look at the environment as a whole. What's the big fuss, Cliff? It's just plastic, right? Tell us.
Yeah, it's a very big conversation, Rumbi, and I think if you look at the main, if you look at our rivers, these are our sources of fresh water, and once you have plastics that are introduced into the our water bodies, one of the things that happens is the contamination of our water bodies. I think there were studies that have been done recently that were trying to trace the presence of microplastics in our water bodies. And I think there were some traces that were picked. And it's quite concerning, because once you then have plastics that are now dissolved into water, or that are found, plastic particles found in water, then you are now introducing them into different ecosystems and also the human body. So that's one of the challenges that we have when we have the plastics being channeled into our water bodies. And secondly, you also look at the drainage system is being affected, because when there's a lot of rain and then plastic goes into our drainage system, that's when you start seeing those flash floods that happens in our cities. It's because of the blockage of the drainage system, and eventually they are washed away into these various water bodies. But also in terms of the wetlands, plastics, they really suffocate these aquatic ecosystems, because there's a lot of life within the aquatic ecosystems. And then when you introduce plastics in those ecosystems, plastics, they do degrade under the sun, and also mechanical stress into smaller particles, which are called microplastics. And by the end of the day, you then have some of the members of the of this aquatic ecosystem being affected and being suffocated by the plastics. And if you look at the microplastics, they also contaminate the soil, and then they affect the productivity of the soil. And in the long term, it would then have serious implications in terms of food security. So it's not just a minor issue that we have plastics on our environment. And you also look at the wildlife. There are a lot of reports for wildlife that is also paying the price for the plastic that we are throwing on the environment, because we have even cases where elephants, they are dying after ingesting the plastics. You have even mombe, they are having the similar challenges that if their cattle ingest plastics, they will also suffer the consequences. So I think there's a big price that our environment is paying because of the plastic pollution.
You talk about microplastics, and this is a huge conversation. Why are microplastics so harmful to human health? What impact do they have, and what impact does plastic pollution have on human health?
Yeah, it's and this is it's a serious issue that is now emerging. That's why there's now this conversation of the intersection of waste management and health. And if you look at it, there are so many studies that are now pointing in the direction that microplastics are now being found in human cells. And more worrying and more concerning is that these plastics are being found in the human brains. There are researches that are pointing to that. And also to men, I think it's also a serious risk, because there are also studies that are pointing to the fact that these microplastics are being found in the genital cells for men, and it's quite a serious concern. So there are so many health impacts that are really affecting human beings, and I think it's something that really needs to be taken seriously, because I think in the long run, at the pace at which we are generating plastics, and then we are having these microplastics are also being introduced into our ecosystems and also in the food web through some of the activities that are channeling the microplastics into water and contamination of the soil. So I think that's a major challenge that is emerging in terms of the microplastics.
Yeah, and Funduka, we are finding microplastics everywhere, isn't it? That's scary. That is scary. So what are the alternatives? When you just think about it, there's plastic in everything. We celebrated plastic as the answer not so long ago, and here we are saying, actually, that plastic could actually kill you. Yeah. So let's take a look at that. What are the alternatives, affordable alternatives to single-use plastics that people can adopt? Because you talked about paper bags, but that then means deforestation. It means more trees to make the paper. So, tuenda kupi, and what are some of the real affordable alternatives here?
Yeah, so yeah, it's very interesting as well to look at it from a sustainability perspective, because if you look at the alternatives that are available, that are being proposed on the market, or the big question that must be answered before we talk about any alternative, we have to really ask ourselves to say, have we managed to establish the systems that are ready to deal with the alternative? So whatever alternative that we propose, we must ask the big question: have we established the systems that will be able to deal with those alternatives? And secondly, have we created the right mindset to be able to deal with the alternative? Because if we do not answer those two questions, we'll then run into the risk of going into the same cycle where we celebrated the introduction of plastics, and then we then realize there are many challenges with the plastics because we are not able to handle the plastics once they are post-consumer. And I think in terms of the alternatives that are there are alternatives that are being pushed forward. We're talking about the paper bags. Yes, there are also an issue of cost-benefit analysis that we need to look at. But in terms of the sustainability aspects, the paper bag is much better compared to the plastics. Because if you look at the ESG, the environmental social governance side of it, looking at all the pillars of sustainability, there are many boxes that the paper bags will be able to tick. But also, there's also the biodegradable plastics that are also being introduced on the market, which are also an alternative that is coming there. And I think we also look at alternatives where people are using reusable bags from upcycled materials. So you have your fabric waste, which is also a big concern. It can also be used for upcycling and be given a secondary life, those materials given a secondary life, and then they are utilized as reusable bags. So I think these are the options that are there on the market, but also looking at also adhering to some of the principles in the short term in terms of the thickness of the plastics that must be used. So it's a concern also to look at the redesign from the industry side of things to say, is the products that they are designing designed for sustainability, or they're just designing for the sake of meeting their profit requirements or profit needs. So I think this is basically some of the options that are being introduced on the market.
It's good to hear and know that alternatives are available. But you know, all these things, and I'm sure you can also confirm, Cliff, start off at a household level. Even before we get to the community, it's what we can do in our own spaces, in our own households. So let's speak to that. What are some simple changes that can start today in Inimbamangu ndingachinja chiyi to reduce plastic use? Then let's look further at what schools can do, what businesses can do. And then we look at the whole community to participate in Plastic-Free July, to use less plastic.
Tinofanira kutanga rumbi is the alternative mindset, because if we don't address the mindset, we'll have a challenge. So the first thing that we must have is the change of the mindset at individual level. And if once we change the mindset in terms of how we perceive the materials we use and discard, once we have that change of mindset, I think that's the starting point. And then from the change of the mindset, we'll then be able to make the right decisions to say, do I really need this material, or do I need this plastic bag? So when you're going to the shopping, when you're going for shopping, you need to consider buying in bulk, because you then use less of the packaging. There are also options. We have seen communities in Zimbabwe, especially in these high density areas, they are repurposing some of the plastics that they are producing. You see that they will buy their a 5 liter a product in a container of a 5 liter. When they're done using that product, they then repurpose the container to become for them to go fetch water and keep their water there. And I think it's something that we also see as a good practice that is being done by the communities. But I think the real issue is on the issue of looking at the three principles. The first one is to really think, how do I reduce? How do I avoid producing plastic waste? So by avoiding, you are making the right decisions to ensure that you are not just getting unnecessary plastic materials that you do not require. Then the second aspect, you have then to look at the concept of repurposing. Once you now have the plastic, what roles are you, those small actions that you are taking at household level, like the example I was giving, where you can repurpose a container to use it for another purpose. Then thirdly, you then look at saying, once I generate the plastic, what role should I play to ensure that this plastic becomes, can have a secondary life? Now we're talking about recycling. Then you need to separate all your materials at the point of generation, that is at household level. So you put all your plastics in their own container. You don't mix them with other materials, so that those that are doing recycling will then be able to come and collect those materials for recycling before they are contaminated with other materials. So the source separation becomes very critical as well. So if this mindset can be engraved at the level of the family units, it's easier for that to be promoted, and for it to grow to go to the level of the community. And from the community, the people who come from the communities, they are the people who still we find in schools. These are the people who find in different organizations. These are the people we find in all the government institutions. So once we deal with the family unit, once we deal with the household, once we deal with the generator at that level, we are almost certain that all these practices will then be promoted at the different levels of the other role players in our society, which is our schools, our workplaces, etc. But also it's important for us to then really look at promoting in-school activities, because it's easy to teach the young ones the best practices, and they'll then be able to take them home and teach some of us who may be having challenges to change our mindset. But also we see the bigger role that industry can play in terms of having the mindset of designing for sustainability. That really is going to drive a serious transition in terms of how this plastic and single-use plastic is challenges are facing our communities. And also there's a big role that they can play in terms of participating in great initiatives like your Zero Waste movement, which is an initiative that is championed by our environment patron, the First Lady of Zimbabwe. There's an opportunity for industry to partner and really contribute towards such initiatives. And I think this could be an opportunity for us to have a similar movement that grows like the Plastic Free July that started in Australia. We could have our own organic movement that can really sprout across the country and like a fire. So I think this is an opportunity for industry to participate. And also the activities that are being done by the Environmental Management Agency, especially for Plastic Free July. There are those activities they are doing with schools, the activities they are doing with communities. Industry has to play a part in terms of supporting, because all these activities are coming in to assist industry to mop their post-packaging materials that are becoming a nuisance in our environment. So I think the industry or the economy-wide approach is what will be required in terms of looking at a sustainable, a more sustainable solution to the challenges of single-use plastic.
Great stuff, Cliff. I think that is a really good place for us to end our conversation. Thank you so much for a really comprehensive look at plastic. Plastic has become menace, and really for giving us some of those recommendations in the end there, and encouraging households to start small, and those small efforts can really become something bigger. And so as we continue on in Plastic Free July, we hope that we can do better in terms of our plastic use and recycling after use of all the plastic that we have. Thanks so much, Cliff, for your insights and for your valuable input on this very important environmental issue. We certainly will be reaching out and connecting with you on more issues even beyond Plastic Free July.
No, thank you, Rumbi, and thank you to the listeners.
Fantastic stuff. Cliff Chivanga there, COO of the Zimbabwe Sunshine Group and proud environmentalist, was our guest as we were looking at Plastic Free July. Small changes, big impact in the fight against plastic pollution. Thanks, Cliff. Have a good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now. Yeah, and with that, we get to the end of the exchange this evening. Coming up next is the news at exactly 8 o'clock. And straight after that, we continue on with environmental issues. This time, human-wildlife conflict. Stay connected. Stay tuned. It's Capi Talk 100.4 FM.
She dissects, she explains and clarifies your Rosetta Stone to understanding legalese. She is Rumbidzai Venge on Capital 100.4 FM.